Everything pretty now?
Yeah,
All
yeah.
right, cool. For Reaper Metal Productions, this is HELLCAST. Don't smash a like, don't subscribe. Just go to reapermetalproductions.com and check out the hours worth of music, podcast episodes, and much, much more. And when you do that, that'll be far better than anything that is to teach a robot stuff that's going to teach you on, watching pointless shit that you don't need to be watching. So go to reapermetalproductions.com, and I want to welcome the guy that you would see in a lot of those other videos if he's going to come out of the corner here. That's old Tommy G. Still rocking that name, right?
Yeah. Actually, it's funny. People have been writing me Tommy Darkness.
Tommy Darkness?
I want to say you said it before, but then like Dylan from Headsplit and some other guys have been writing it, so now I'm just using that as the my email signature. So
so very
it's
much
best when people name you and you don't, you're not naming yourself.
Yeah, you're right. Well, so the best, or as you've been last seen, was Into the Darkness. We were interviewing people and stuff. So you brought somebody with you today. Who the hell's here?
We have Mr. Erik Payne of Intoxicated and Andrew WK fame.
Hey, what the fuck are you bringing somebody from Andrew WK here for?
It's a party, man. I'm trying to have a party.
We're having a party.
Yeah.
I mean, do the listeners? Do you want? I don't know. Set us up too, because Intoxicated's on Redefining Darkness. Then
Seeing Red, actually.
Seeing Red?
Yeah.
You and your labels.
I know. It's fucking annoying, trust me. They just released a single not too long ago during this whole pandemic called Legacy's Demise, which is now streaming everywhere. It's actually on a Apple playlist called Headbangers. Is that right, Eric? Headbangers playlist that Andrew actually curated. He's a metalhead, so got to give it up. He's actually on Napalm Records, by the way, now, so he's all metal, dude.
But I wasn't really ragging on him. I was just so Andrew. Sorry, man. It was just a fun opportunity for our
He's a metalhead through and through.
Oh yeah.
He loves like Napalm Death just as much as Barry Manilow. Equally.
That's awesome. Well, yeah. So Eric, why don't you talk about a little bit about the history of Intoxicated? Because I know for people like Craig, edit. People like Reaper knew Intoxicated from Germany because they were released on Hell's Headbangers Records. So I think when I had first told them that I found this awesome band that I'll be working with, they're like, "Oh, the guys with the fucking Care Bear on the cover, or Snuggy the Bear on a motorcycle."
Yeah,
you have to look at the cover.
I know.
I
got to pull that up almost.
Yeah.
We got a handful of dudes that we were all young, fucked up, man, and just kind of going for it. We put out a couple of EPs, and we took all our merch money, man, and literally bought this vehicle so we could leave it at a bail bonds place because everyone was constantly going to jail, man. We were given that name, Intoxicated. We were, I believe, like on our third show by the time before we even had a band name, and we were basically dubbed that. So we started getting some pretty good shows, and under the wings of like Obituary and Death, and they would take us on small runs. And then we did, I believe it was our third or fourth EP with Chuck. It was his first recording.
Can you give us the lineage? Can you give us kind of your EP discography of like?
Yeah, I believe it was all happening in the span of like 4 or 5 years. We did 4 EPs, and we did them, I believe. We did this one called .08. That's that ages me a bit, but that's what the drinking limit used to be before it turned to 1.0. So we did .08 in like 92 or 93, and then we did an album called Scars. They were only a year apart. We were putting out something every year.
Okay.
And then we did the one called Drain, and that was the one with Chuck.
Okay.
That he did, and that was a really interesting process. We recorded for like 3 days with him, and Chuck was super stony, man. And he literally lost everything we did. We had to start up from scratch after 3 full days of recording.
So Chuck was producing on, so he didn't play like guitar or something. So he was sitting behind the console and running the show.
Yeah, correct.
What was he tracking on at the time? Do you remember?
Man, he was super psyched on it, but it was like this 8-track. But I mean, it ended up being sonically pretty good for something he did for the first time.
That's awesome.
Well, because Is there anything that like was Chuck known for producing stuff? Like, because I couldn't tell you anything else he's produced other than I guess Death Boombox demos.
Right.
So, I mean, is that a fact or something that you know more about, Erik? Like
that's something he just really wanted to get into, and like I said, we did it at his house. And he was dubbing it Black Diamond Studios. You know, he's a massive Kiss fan.
Right.
And he ended up like we did our demo with him, and then he literally actually rented a building and started, you know, grooming it out. And then it kind of just went to shit. I believe we are the only band he recorded.
That's so crazy. Do you know why he you know, gave up on the dream?
I honestly don't know, but I know Chuck would get pissed pretty quick about a lot of things, and then that would be over, you know.
Yeah.
I skipped over a little bit,
Yeah.
but like it was really cool because again, these dudes, like I said, they were iconic to us, you know. But you know, Chuck came in on several of our demos, some stuff that people have never even heard, and played some solos, did some vocals. And again, I'm hoping that, you know, in a few years, maybe once people give a shit, that maybe we can even release some of that stuff.
Yeah, that would be really cool. So what was that introduction to Chuck, and like what made him want to work with Intoxicated?
Well, like we you know, we would cross paths all the time, and but when it really got locked in was probably around the time right before Symbolic came out, and they were doing kind of an album release and a you know, like this charity event, and they asked us to play, and then from there it was on, and we had a bunch of mutual friends, and we would just go to Chuck's house. He was actually pretty good at brewing beer, and he was fun to hang out with, and it was Chuck. So, you know, anytime we got invited, we'd go, you know.
Yeah, that's cool.
I just found that today, or stumbled on that today, actually. Like Richard Christie was like saying some stuff.
Oh, that he was brewed beer?
Yeah, like things you didn't know about Chuck, or he's like, yeah, he had awesome beer that he brewed or whatever.
That's pretty cool. And way before like any fucking idea of craft, anything. You know?
Yeah. I mean,
do you know some of the history about Richard Christie, man? That dude. So he lived in a warehouse right down the street from us for about, man, if I'm not wrong, like 17 years. Man.
Yeah, that's what I heard, man. He's talked about that, like rats crawling on him when he's asleep and shit.
Dude, and he would make these movies, and they were like 3-hour fucking long movies, man.
like comedy movies or like horror movies or both.
Yeah, they were kind of like he was a superhero. But he wore this, you know, he's a pretty pale dude, but he would wear this like yellow thong, and and he'd fight these. It was like, you know, I can't remember off the top of my head, but it was like Skullfuck versus, you know, whatever. But they were, and he drove massive premieres, man. He'd dress up in a suit, rent out like a fucking nice hotel, and then kind of like ear rape you for about 3.5 hours of this movie. But it was pretty funny. Actually, our Intoxicated drummer's drum teacher from when he was like 12 on also lived right next door. And they both, and that dude still lives in that fucking warehouse, man.
That's so crazy.
What is it? A nice like a comment like is it at least like decked
what's
out?
the allure
like,
of the warehouse? Yeah.
No, zero. Super shitty.
Super shitty. It's I don't know. So it seems the Howard Stern thing almost seems very appropriate at this point. Like it's just because it always struck me out of nowhere. Like we heard like the drummer. Like, at that point for me it was like the drummer of Death or Iced Earth. You know, from how I knew it, and then it's like on Howard Stern. Like is that the same guy? Like and then like how the hell would he get that? You know what I mean? Like the goofball gig essentially.
Right.
But I guess now it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, from the early days, man, he was just sending those guys constant stuff, you know, and they eventually just answered him back. You
That's
know?
so funny.
Wow.
Which is awesome.
The Chuck demo, A Drain, that's the title of that
Yeah.
one? And then who did wasn't there someone notable that did artwork for that one?
Yeah, Trevor from Obituary did the artwork on a few of our demos, and he was there, man. During that whole recording session at Chuck's, it was literally just the lineup that was Intoxicated at that time, and Trevor and Chuck, you know, and Trevor came to every single session.
Really?
Yeah. But yeah, Trevor had just started just started doing some sort of like graphic design. So we were somewhat guinea pigs, but we were stoked, to obviously have them even give a shit or be involved,
And so then what was the introduction to Trevor?
So me and our original guitar player, we worked at this really nice apartment complex. And that in itself, like I said, was just pretty funny because we looked hash as shit and to have those jobs.
Were you like groundskeepers or something? What were you?
Yeah, well, he was like higher up than me, and like he would fix people's like fucking air conditioner stuff.
Okay.
I was basically like clean the pool, fucking garbage man. We had to go up like twice a week up 3 flights of stairs and pick up people's garbage.
Okay.
And, low man on the totem pole. But anyway, so we were driving around on a golf cart one day, and we watched this. We see this big U-Haul, and it's backing up, and you can see it from a mile away, man, that this U-Haul was going to plow this fucking really nice sign. And literally, it was like, look at this fucking dipshit, And but we, of course, just let it happen, And he plowed the sign over, knocked it down, and then, sure enough, getting out of the U-Haul, it was Trevor. And that was our introduction. He was super stoked that we knew who he was. And we loaded up that really nice sign and on a golf cart and just threw it in the woods. And never spoke of it again.
The age before security cameras, I guess.
Yeah, for sure.
Can you imagine like Blabbermouth or something?
Right.
Like Trevor Perez fucking runs over a sign.
Oh yeah, gets a fine for running over. Yeah.
He was so relieved because he was hung over as shit, which he admitted, right after he realized we knew who he was.
So was Obituary having success at that time that he was able to afford to move into this fancy place, or?
Yeah, it was really funny. I mean, to us, what Obituary was doing, was a massive success. And during that time, even like our managers at that shitty apartment complex, they were like, literally like almost breaking laws, telling us like, what Trevor made, financially. He's like, you don't want to go down this road. You don't want to do that shit, And because we would leave all the time to go on small runs, and because we worked and lived there, they held that over our heads. You don't want to lose your job because you lose your house. And so we would just throw our keys at them, and because we were kind of at a stalemate, just didn't really know what direction and how to move forward. I had never sang and played, and it was just, it was kind of embarrassingly enough, a good excuse to move on. And when we started touring with Andrew, I think I was home 12 days the first year and like 17 the next, so Intoxicated really got put on a back burner, where, we would come home from tour with Andrew and we do like fly out gigs with, with like that company Volcom, and so we always kept it going. Was that
a skate brand or something?
Yeah, that skate company. Yeah. So, we just desperately trying to keep Intoxicated going, but, it was so intermittent and definitely wasn't given the time it deserved, and really didn't have the time either with all the touring with Andrew. But as of probably about 3 years ago, Greg and myself, who also plays with Andrew, we just said, man, we need to either fucking go for it or just put it to bed, and it's not in my nature to put shit to bed. So anyway, that's when we started writing Wild.
Okay, cool. So how long was DT in the band before the Andrew thing came up?
Donald Tardy.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was in the band for probably about 4 years.
Holy shit. Because when did Obituary go on hiatus, by the way?
If I had to guess, I would say 95.
Okay, yeah, that sounds about right. Because what was the last one?
Back from the Dead, right?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think Back from the Dead was the last one, because that does have the Threatening Skies and the rap tune, right?
Yes, that's the threatening song.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, the Bully Boys. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what
I think that was the last one.
Yeah.
I actually like some of that.
Right. Not the last song. That's what it is.
Yeah, we got to go down to Criteria Studios and see some of that record get recorded.
Oh, that's cool. So they knew they were disbanding. Was Donald playing with you by that time already, or no?
I'm a little confused by the timing on that. I want to say fuck, man. I kind of can't remember. I want to say that was like around 97 or something. I don't.
I think that came out in 97, so I'm sure it was done before that.
And then Donald told us, he said, man, look, he's like, in about 9 months, I'm going to be gone. And he's like, I got this offer to play with this dude, Andrew, who just got, some big deal with Sony or whatever, and so of course we were bummed, but we would drive down to Tampa. That's where we rehearsed, and we'd come in and we would hear this music, man, that he would be playing on a jam box, and we're like, what the fuck is this,
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, this is this dude Andrew, but there, he was really into it, and then he started playing us some more of the stuff, and some stuff that probably even some people haven't heard before, but it definitely had some punk elements to it and some rock, some like heavy rock elements to it. So we definitely got what it was. And shortly after, it was the craziest thing. I got a letter in the mail from this dude Andrew, I'd never met, and knew very, very little about. And basically it was the nicest letter I've ever received in my life, and he said the majority of it was about Obituary, to be honest, and his love for that band. I believe he asked that whole band to join his band.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And Donald was the only one who, who said, yeah. But yeah, he just talked about his love for Obituary, and then said that Donald had said that we, myself and Greg, would be a good fit for his band. And he's like, you want to go travel the world? He's like, if you do, here's my phone number. So I called him immediately, man. And we got put on like a small retainer, and Greg and I moved out of our apartment and moved right down to Tampa into Donald's 1-bedroom apartment, where we just bought a big Tupperware full of weed, and we just jammed every day. That was our job.
That's crazy.
When he said about getting the letter, and not knowing this guy, like, isn't that his thing? The Andrew WK thing, where like it's almost like mysterious who he is. Like, I thought there was like some shit where people were saying like it's a different guy than it really was. Like, do you know what I'm talking about? Like,
I do know a little bit about what you're talking about. I've never totally gotten it or gotten into it,
Yeah.
But yeah, people think there's a lot of them.
but he does keep this kind of like shroud of mystery around him, and I think he prefers it that way,
For sure, and it's real, man. I mean, there's things I'm super confused by, but I also kind of embrace that.
Yeah.
And I just by observing, I've watched people ask him questions, and I don't want to be on the receiving end of that, because he's so polite and everything, but he'll tell you something for like 15 minutes, and then you'll walk away and realize he didn't tell you anything.
Right.
And, but I find
awesome.
it intriguing.
I mean, he does crazy stuff too. I was searching him,